What is up, guys, and welcome back to Utah Utes Dynasty. We're here today. We have the Season 2 off-season. The Utes finished the season with a sad loss to BYU, but nonetheless, it was a great season. We got 11 wins, and I think we had a very tough schedule to go with it. We started against Fresno State, got a win. We lost to Michigan on a Hail Mary. Then we beat BYU, who beat earlier in the season, beat a bunch of ranked opponents in a row. Michigan, BYU, Stanford, USC, Oregon were all ranked at the time. And that's how this season ended up finishing. And then we just kind of won a lot of games. We won, again, triple overtime to Oregon. And we had, of course, the Heisman winner, James Poole. I've probably said every single episode since he won it. And as we look at the All-Americans, James Poole, definitely first-team All-American. Then we got Filicini Vawanuku, who I butchered his name a lot. Then LT Filiaga, Reginald Porter, Charles Henderson. And then if we head to the second-team All-Americans, Jeremiah Pautaisi was definitely one of our best offensive linemen. He was making some key blocks for our running backs to get around the edge. Definitely on that buck sweep play, which I definitely ran a lot. Also forgot to mention Wesley Johnson was a first-team All-American punt returner and kick returner. And he's also a freshman because, you know, he's just that good, I guess. So that's how basically these all ended up. First team Pac-12, Poole, basically all the same players that made first and second team, and then a few others actually. Our offensive line showed up a couple times in that. Our defense is definitely everywhere because we did have a world-class defense. I think this defense is what won us a lot of games. They kept us in a lot of games earlier in the season, and then late in the season, it was our offense that kept us in a bunch of games, especially in that Oregon game in the Pac-12 championship. And then we actually stayed in that BYU game because of them. But now we'll see the awards. Many individual efforts from this team throughout the season. They definitely did play as a team in many aspects of it, but there were many key players that stuck out, including James Poole, LT Filiaga, and Reginald Porter, and Wesley Johnson, who all won awards, including Jamie Sutcliffe, our great kicker, who was only a junior. He'll be coming back for his senior year. He definitely made some clutch kicks when we needed him to get the clutch kick. He won us the game against Oregon, and late in the season he wasn't as reliable as I wish he would have been, but throughout the entire season he didn't miss a field goal till late in the season. So it's great when you have a reliable kicker like him. And as I said, this team definitely won a lot of awards. Definitely a team that really stood out from other teams, having many individual players being so good on a single team. So now we'll see how everyone did this season stats-wise. Travis Wilson did okay. I mean, 18 to 20 isn't the best ratio, but his career ended 43 of 39 with the interception touchdown ratio, over 5,000 yards. I mean, I think that's a solid career. I mean, he didn't do much this past season. James Poole and Jarrell Oliver, the Diamond Duo, they definitely had a big season. James Poole especially. Oliver emerged later in the season a little bit. I think Oliver played a really big role because whenever James Poole went down, he got hurt a lot. Oliver would come in and he would basically just play the same as Poole would. As you see, the senior really played well. We definitely gave him a lot of carries. And then Ken Scott, another senior, did not have the best season as he did, last year. But he kind of balanced it out because we didn't really throw as much, but still he had a great season for what he could do. Defensively, it was an amazing season. Many great players. Hunter Dimmick leading in sacks. He had 7 sacks. This team racked up a lot of sacks. We were always pressuring the quarterback. We were always trying to get back there, and we did it most of the time, as we also got in the backfield. We all got that running back so many times in the big situation. So I'm really glad of how this entire season ended up. And the interception, this one surprised me. Reginald Porter, he came out of nowhere. The junior really just showed up somewhere and just basically intercepted any ball that came his way. He also deflected 5 balls this season. As you see, LT Filiaga really improving from last year. Talk about stepping up. 2 tackles the previous year, coming up to 100. And then also Jason Whittingham, who's just been a solid player, finished his career with 12 total sacks. He had 10 last year, only 2 this year. But nonetheless, still a great season for this team. Reginald Porter here. One of those players that just didn't play much last season. This year really emerges onto the scene. And then Wesley Johnson, our fantabulous returner. As we look at some of the Utah records, nothing much until we get to the rushing. James Poole broke every single Utah record. The best player, I could say, at least in Utah history, up to this point. I can't really say that actually, but I will, because I believe when you have every single record for one category, that's kind of pretty good. So as we look at some of the coaching changes here, Arizona State decides go another way. Mike Leach, he will leave Washington State to go to Arizona State, try to rebuild that team as an offensive coordinator, actually. And many different changes. We got a new offensive coordinator in Thomas Smith. That should be a little bit different. Our coordinators just keep leaving for better jobs. I mean, it's what they do. You just got to expect it when you have as good a season as we did. And Washington State also changing it up. Since they lost Mike Leach because they fired him, they're going to have to change it up too. So a lot of coaching changes in the Pac-12 this year as we look at how this all ended up. We got 4 players projected to go drafted, but we got a lot of players leaving. We've got Scott, Poole, Henderson, Oliver, Lewis, Reese, Clay, Whittingham, and Hackett. All very important players. And then 2 players who decided to transfer. I let them go. I could care less if they want to stay or not. And then Adam Schultz got drafted, but he never played a single snap. He never started a single snap. He played 5. One of those interception. As we look here at the recruiting, I was not really looking to do much. I got most of the players I wanted. Chris Carroll, Lonnie Fox, Rusty Marshall, and then Everett Lowe were the big players I was looking at. Lowe's going to start. Carroll's going to be the future quarterback, and we've just looking for it. But then I was looking. I found this quarterback, and he ended up being a 78 overall. So I was like, okay, I'll just put some points into it. But the most points I really put in was Eric Barnes, the punter. That was the most I was looking at. And that's basically all I was looking for. We got the class that I really wanted to get. So if we got any of these players, it'd be like, okay, that's great. But I would be like, okay, well, I don't really need them. So this is how it all ended up. We got Walter Coe, a strong safety from Florida. Very good in the coverage game, but he won't play for a little bit. We definitely have a lot of good corners and safeties and free safeties and just everywhere on defense. We also got a running back, Brian Silva. So, not really much happened. We got Joe Gold to 40 overall. Don't really want him. And then the punter, I don't know where he went. But Darren Watkins went to UTSA when he could have gone to Utah. I don't know. As we had the 42nd best recruiting class. I'm perfectly fine with that. And, of course, Chris Carroll was our top recruit this past season, as he's definitely going to be the quarterback. Chris Carroll will be the quarterback after Kendall Thompson leaves this next season. And also, we've got Lonnie Fox, who is definitely looking after. Definitely good at the center position, but we are very low on right guard. So I had to put him at right guard and get some depth on that part. And then another guy, Rusty Marshall, I was really looking at to be a running back, but I couldn't quite decide. I ended up making him a wide receiver. But as we look at the players who developed, this team definitely did get pretty good. I mean, nobody's really above 80 in any of our skill players other than Kendall Thompson. So that's, this team isn't really young. They're kind of young, but they're not really like an old team. But, this offensive line is definitely really good. We got some great standout players that are really play big. And also on defense, Hunter Dimmick and Mr. Tassini, who I don't think is actually going to play because we got Mr. Lowe at the D-end position. But we also got some other great players. Messina comes back once again. He develops to get a little bit better. And then we've got, of course, our great cornerbacks that really played huge last season. All juniors. Next year, there's going to be a lot of seniors. So, as we look, we head now to the preseason. We've got many things to do. I skipped through the redshirting, and I skipped through setting up the recruiting board because it's just one of those things that takes a lot of time. And if we look here, we start at Baylor, then we are home to Fresno State. We host Cal, then we go to Stanford. We're home to USC, then we go to Oregon. Then we're home against Oregon State, then we're at UCLA. And then we're home against Arizona, who I want to beat. And then we go to BYU, and then at Arizona State, and then we finish at home to Colorado. As we look here at the preseason top 25, Alabama is here number 1. Florida State, Ohio State, Oklahoma, North Carolina, Texas, Miami, Notre Dame, LSU, and Florida are your top 10 to start this season. definitely it's just completely based on recruiting, except for North Carolina, because they definitely had a good season. Then you got USC, UCLA, Oregon, the three big Pac-12 teams, other than Utah, of course. And then Wisconsin, BYU, TCU, Clemson, Georgia Tech, Michigan, Auburn, Texas A&M. Then there's us, Utah, in between Texas A&M and Army, and Stanford, and then NC State to round it off. So, that is it for this offseason. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and hopefully we can have just as good a season as we had the last. And we'll start this one against Baylor. We're going to their place. Shouldn't be an easy one, so hopefully we can pull out a win. I'll see you guys there. Have a great day, and goodbye.